Imagine this. You are on a flight and you hear the Captain Chelsea Sullenberger, also known as Sully, with over 40 years of experience, come over the intercom and say in a stern yet wavering voice, "Brace for impact." How could this be? You only boarded the plane only 15 minutes ago. The flight attendants are yelling in unison, "Brace, brace, heads down, stay down." You look out the window and you see the Hudson River getting dangerously close. On January 15, 2009, Flight 1549 took off from LaGuardia Airport, headed to Charlotte, North Carolina. The flight was full, 150 passengers, and 5 crew members. The plane took off and the flight was going according to plan. At the altitude of approximately 3,000 feet and at about 250 miles per hour, the plane encounters a flock of geese. These birds were sucked into both engines of the plane, causing them to flame out and fail immediately. Air traffic controller Patrick Harton, based at New York's Air Traffic Control Center in Long Island, 8 miles from LaGuardia, contacts Flight 1549, whose call sign is Cactus, to request a routine course correction. Captain Sullenberger takes control over from the co-pilot, who has spent seconds trying to start the non-responsive engines. He then responds to air traffic control. This is Cactus 1549. Hit birds. We lost thrust in both engines. We're turning back toward LaGuardia. Air traffic confirms and clears both runways for an emergency landing. Captain Sullenberger begins to evaluate his options and quickly realizes that turning back is not an option. He then asks about New Jersey and Teterboro. A few seconds later, the controller comes back with confirmation about Teterboro, but Sully realizes that too was not possible. He responds to the controller with, "We can't do it." Sullenberger then tells the controller, "We're going to be in the Hudson." Without thrust, the plane begins to glide towards the Hudson River. Captain Sully had one very large obstacle to avoid, the George Washington Bridge, which he avoided with only 900 feet to spare. Sully then came on the intercom, telling his passengers to brace for impact. His flight attendants began yelling, "Brace, brace, heads down, stay down." With its nose raised at about 150 miles per hour, the plane completes an unpowered ditching in the Hudson, just 3.5 minutes after takeoff. Sully then gives the evacuate command, and the crew began to remove passengers onto the wings as the plane begins to fill with water. The first rescue boat arrived in just 4 minutes. Sully went up and down the aisles several times to make sure all passengers were out before he too exited the plane. Captain Sully saved everyone on Flight 1549 that day. The outcome could have been so much worse if he hadn't made the decision to land in the Hudson and get all of his passengers out before himself. Now here's another story of an accident that had a much different outcome. Captain Francesco Schettino was navigating Costa Concordia, a large cruise ship, past the island of Giglio. The ship was huge, with 4,200 passengers aboard. The ship outnumbered the people of Giglio 4-1. The captain was no longer following his charted course. He was 4 miles closer to the island. The ship was accelerated to 16 knots, which is quite fast for a vessel of its size. Schettino believed that he was more than half a mile away from shore, which is too close, but GPS data later revealed that he was less than 1,000 feet away from land. At 9:45 p.m., passengers on board quickly realized that something was terribly wrong. The vessel shuddered and passengers on board heard a loud grinding sound. The ship had hit a large rock. The impact tore a 160-foot gash in the port side. Water began to quickly flood the ship. Lacking guidance and information, the crew told passengers to stay put. At 10:58, the captain gave the official order to evacuate the ship. By law, all 26 lifeboats have to be launched within 30 minutes of an evacuation order, but the crew's delay made an orderly escape impossible. The Concordia was tilting more than 20 degrees, which made some of the portside boats useless. At around 11:30 p.m., Schettino boarded a lifeboat and headed towards shore. The Concordia was beached in water 45 feet deep, and passengers began jumping off into the water. Coast Guard helicopters were able to rescue at least 100 passengers that were clinging to the decks. 32 passengers died in this accident. Schettino was one of the first to get into a lifeboat. He claims that he fell in it. Schettino had many other options rather than waiting until the last minute to tell his passengers to get their evacuation supplies and to get into lifeboats. Now I'm going to talk about resistance. Resistance is the use of immature defense mechanisms that are rigid, impulsive, maladaptive, and non-analytical. Types of resistance include avoidance, anger, cliches, denial, ignorance, conformity, struggling, and distractions. Captain Schettino was in denial about what he had done. He didn't want his passengers to know that he had really screwed up by being too close to the shore, so he kept it quiet until the very last minute. If he would have alerted his passengers sooner, he may have been able to get all the passengers out alive. Unlike Captain Sully, Captain Schettino was in resistance, which can cause people to think clearly to come up with a solution. For me, being put in some stressful positions make me less prone to using resistance in a stressful situation. Having that experience allows me to make better decisions in the future. I also feel like being knowledgeable in various areas will leave less room for resistance. Then, when someone has a different opinion than me, I can hear their side in a calm manner and try to understand better why they feel the way they do. I feel as though I'm constantly making deposits into my bank of education and training. I am a full-time college student at LCSC. While in college, I am constantly taking classes that teach me new skills. I have taken many elective courses in regards to communication and marketing. Through these classes, I have learned how to communicate effectively as well as efficiently. Deposits that I am making into my bank of experience are happening through my work. In the fall, I began an internship with Wallowa County Grain Growers, and by the end of my internship, they offered me a full-time position in their administration department. I love learning from prior experiences. I feel as though they are the best lessons, and lessons can come from every experience. The two stories at the beginning could have ended in different ways. Captain Sully showed no resistance and was able to use his bank of education, training, and experience of over 40 years to save lives. Captain Schettino showed many characteristics of resistance in the stressful situation, the main one being denial. If he would have reacted in a calm manner and followed the route that he was supposed to, the Concordia would have never capsized and those 32 lives would have been spared. Thank you.